All right. Good morning, and a lovely Saturday morning it is to you. It's Saturday here. It's Saturday morning. It's 5:30 Saturday morning. That means it's time for us to gather and to draw. And we gather when we draw whatever toy I draw, whatever toy I pull out of the randomogrifier. I have about 400 of these little canisters full of toys. Most of them from Safari Limited, but this is not. This is a 3D printed cargo van. I found a guy on Amazon that just 3D prints a whole bunch of stuff, and so this was just one of a set that I bought. And all I could think when I pulled this out this morning, yesterday evening, all I could think when I pulled it out yesterday evening was how handy it would have been to have that yesterday instead of the four-wheeler ATV, which is so complicated to draw. I could have just drawn this box. But here we are today. So let's turn the page and get started. There's my dad. Good morning, Dad. Dad's in the chat. Mom's in the chat. It's 5:30 Saturday morning. Easter weekend here in the U.S. I'm sure it's Easter weekend in most of the Christian world. I get to spend the next few hours changing a hot water tank. I say get to because I'm privileged enough to have a home. And I should be happy about that, not frustrated about the fact that there's more that I have to do on a Saturday. I'm not bitter. Not bitter. I'm just blocking it in. How's everybody doing this morning? I was up just a little later than I wanted to be last night, messing with that water heater, and then once I finished messing with that water heater, it's like I didn't want to go to bed. But so my water heater went out this week. It's probably been going out for a while, and I just now got bad enough to notice that the water was leaking outside and running down the neighborhood. My neighbor pointed out the wet soil between our houses, but we couldn't figure out where it was coming from. So we finally found the leaks and determined what we needed to do about it. And I was up a little late last night doing it. This is a pretty simple shape, so I mean we moved pretty quickly from composition straight to details. It's kind of small. The details are there. Amazingly, the details are there. It's got windows. I mean, it's a nice little. It is a nice little 3D model. It just lacks color. How many windows does it have? See, now the problem is if I lean in and do this and get a good look, I have to do it long enough for my brain to map it out. But I can't let that affect what I see, so I have to be careful that I don't let it affect what I see, because your brain, we talked about this the other day, your brain fills in the gaps. You only see about a silver dollar size at any given time, and your brain fills in the gaps with what it thinks it knows. hold your tongue just right. Yeah, there's windshield wipers and everything on this thing. Alright. Most everything else is just tonal changes. Let's clean up some of those stray lines so that I don't shade anything. Yeah! That's what I said, Mom. This would have really been a good... She's in the chat room saying this would have been a really good project for a work day. That's exactly what I said. There's a cargo van. I want a cargo van. This is one of those things that I have been dreaming about buying because I could put my art show stuff in it. Use it to get around town on rainy days if I have to. But I could put my art supply stuff in it, like my canopy and things, and I could just leave it there. So I've actually been thinking about getting a cargo van for a very long time. I looked up cargo van in the Spanish translator. It's furgoneta de cargo. And I struggle with that because I'm not sure how accurate that is. I'm not sure if that's a translation of cargo van or if that's just the translator trying to make something it doesn't understand. Like yesterday, I subscribed to the newsletter from SpanishDictionary.com, and yesterday the Spanish word of the day was pastar, and so it made me curious because pastar means to graze. This is too long. That's what's wrong. This is too long. This should have been just like right there. Pastar means to graze, and like the sheep were grazing in the field. Las ovejas pastaban en el prada was the example. And so my question was, would the Spanish-speaking community use that the same way English speakers would say grazing at the table? And so I went to my Spanish speakers and I asked that question, and my Spanish speakers acted like they had never heard this word before in their life. They tried to correct me. They tried to tell me that it was not pastar, it was pascal, because it's Easter, and it must be an Easter word. And I had to show them, nope, the word was pastar. Maybe it's a European Spanish, Spain Spanish thing. I don't know. But point is, I'm not sure the thing is giving me accurate information as to what is spoken in Mexico, because it's supposed to be set for Latin America, and I'm not convinced it's giving me Latin American Spanish. But I'm telling stories like my wife tells stories, where you just jump from topic to topic. Like Tolkien. But back to my point about wanting a cargo van, and not about SpanishDictionary.com. I thought it was interesting that the Spanish word was the Spanish word for van is furgoneta. And it makes me wonder if any of the Spanish-speaking community watches my show, let me know, is furgoneta something that you would say when talking about a van, this kind of van? I would appreciate you letting me know in the comments. But I want a van. I want a cargo van. I think it would be nice to have a cargo van to carry my stuff around in, instead of all the time trying to scratch up my mom's car, putting my hog panels, because I use hog panels to hang my work at the fairs, because I think that's funny. But the hog panels have a tendency to scratch my mom's car up. When I squint at this shadow is a little darker than the top of this roof, but it's not as dark as this windshield or this hood, except down here directly underneath it. And this has reflected light on the bottom. This corner right here shouldn't be there. This shouldn't be there. This shouldn't be there. I was going to obscure it with shadow. That just wouldn't be right. So what do we say? The shadow is darker than the hood, darker than the roof of the car, but lighter than the windshield. But it's a simple shadow. I mean, seriously, this would have been so much better to do on a Monday That is not how the randomogrifier works. Randomogrifier may not always give you what you want, but it always gives you what you need. That's not accurate, because I guarantee you on a Monday morning, sometimes I need something I can sketch quick. Anyway, I want a cargo van. But I don't just want any cargo van. I either want one of those 70s and 80s big old chunky work cargo vans, the white ones with the paint falling off of them. And I want one of those because they have there's a watercolor spray paint. There's a spray paint that washes off. And I think it would be funny, occasionally my wife goes to art teacher conventions and she has me drop her off and pick her up from the art teacher conventions. Occasionally. It hasn't happened in a while, but it happens occasionally. Meetings. And I think it would be terribly funny to have one of these white vans with the paint chipping off of them. A little creepy old van that I could live in down by the river. Down by the river. And to have one of them with the words art supplies scrawled on the side of them in black spray paint, with an arrow pointing to the open door, and just park it under a street lamp way out of the back of the parking lot and see how many of the art teachers wander over to the van. You know, like the free candy. Mom said my dad had one of those. I don't remember Dad having a work van like that. But I want one. The other kind, if I can't have that kind, the other kind I really want, there's I think Nissan makes them. It might be Dodge, but there's a van they make that looks like what it would look like if a third grader drew a van. It's got a long nose sticking out. It just looks like a box with wheels. Which, you know, that's all a van is, a box with wheels. It looks exactly like what a third grader would draw if you said, hey, draw a van. And I'm not shaming third graders for that, because I think third graders are brilliant when it comes to stuff like that. There's an age there, and third grade's about it. You can go up to anybody. Ivy says, I do live in a van down by the river. Oh, she said she used to have a van, but she's upgraded to an RV. Yeah, Ivy, good morning. Good morning. I saw your post that said you lived in a van, and I was like, yeah, that's exactly what I'm talking about. But I was actually referring to the Saturday Night Live skit. Living in a van down by the river. But I want one of those vans. And yeah, I could sleep in it when my wife kicks me out. She doesn't kick me out, I'm teasing. Where was I going with this? Anyway, I think it's it could be Dodge, but I think it's just drawn like what a third grader draws. And what I was about to say was, I love the fact that when you go to a third grader and say, hey, draw me a van, a third grader is like, oh, okay, here's a van. But when you go to a fifth or sixth grader and say, draw me a van, that's when they start going, what kind of van? I don't know what vans look like. How do I know? I don't know how to draw a van. Because at that point they become worried about results and not process. And it's like this, the process is what's fun on this. But that doesn't change the fact that that van is pretty goofy looking, and somebody really put it in production. It looks like the mother-in-law car that Homer Simpson designed. There's an episode of The Simpsons where he finds out he's got a brother, and his brother is a rich auto manufacturer, and the brother says, I'm going to design a car just based on you, the working man specs, and lets Homer completely design the car. And it's, of course, it's a flop and bankrupts the company, because that's how the show always is. But it has that kind of vibe to it. Like, I can't believe this actually made it into production. Ivy says she'd be so tempted if it said free art supplies. So I don't even think it has to say free art supplies. I think it could just say art supplies, and I think the art teachers would wander over there. She's in the chat room. She says she'd be so tempted if it said free art supplies, and I think if it just said art supplies, I think you'd get a lot of the art teachers. I think would just wander over there. But let's just go see. I know my wife would wander over there because, you know, I'm her ride. But I think that would be fantastic. Let's just check that for accuracy there. That shadow's a bit much. Make sure that's facing the right way. You think this is too subtle? All right, now let's check it out. Wait till you see this. This is not far off. I've got some flyaway edges. You know what I didn't do? I didn't record it. I didn't record it from the overhead. I have to figure out how to edit it into a short. I may have to spend the whole morning editing it into a short because I didn't record the overhead. Alright, the trick here is to get the picture from the same angle that I saw. Oh. Yeah, okay. One more thing. The length of the van changed from when I started, and so that where the shadow started changed. let's see if our little, I bought this little nylon eraser that's supposed to give us more needle point accuracy. Let's see what that does with those stray lines, with those fuzzy edges. You don't usually have to put this much effort into a morning sketch because, you know, again, the whole point is just to get your juices going early in the morning. But I also like to play with the tools and see what I can do there. If only I had a producer, right? If only I had a producer. My mom's in the chat saying if only you had a producer. I used to have a producer. I used to have someone who would sit with me in the room and tell me, "Hey, you're on the wrong camera." All right. What I need is a checklist. I think what would be more handy than a producer at this point. You know what? Not more handy than a producer. Let me rephrase that. What would be really helpful is if I had a checklist, and I've threatened to make one many times. Just something to sit down and say, okay, this is what I need to. I need to remember to do these things. What am I missing in the chat? I used to take the van to the reservoir and set up my supplies and start drawing or coloring, and I'd get quite a crowd. My mom says, I think that's great, Ivy. And Ivy said, so there's definitely merit there. I didn't have a sign. Alright, so I mean, the van could be darker, but if I darken the van in, I mean, I can tell the value is much darker on the actual van. If I make the value on the van too much darker, then I lose the details that I can see that you really can't see. I don't know how well you can see them, but I mean, there's details around that window and stuff that I can see that I really don't want to have to try to. I really don't want to have to try to make all that transition there. So anyway, that is the cargo van. See how nice that would have been to have on a. Look at us, we're finished. It's a minute till 6. See how nice that would have been to have on a work day? But you watch Monday morning, I'll pull like a family of gnomes. Yeah, it'll be something super intricate. All right. But anyway, thanks guys. Appreciate you coming out this morning. Well, that was lovely. Appreciate you coming out this early. It's bright and early on a Saturday morning, 5:30 in the morning. And now I'm going to sign off, and I'm going to go get a hot water tank because my hot water tank blew up over the last couple of days. Started leaking over the last couple of days. So that's what we get to do on a Easter Saturday. So you guys have a great day. We will see you tomorrow morning at 5:30. Peace out. I have to wait till my mom says she sees me frozen. That lets me know that the lag is caught up. If there is even a lag, I don't even know if there's lag. We just freeze like this until the chat. Somebody in the chat would let me off the hook and let me know that the lag is caught up, and I can cut the stream off. Because if I cut the stream off too early, you will miss the ending of the video. I can see on my return. I think they're playing with me. Honestly, I think they're just sitting there in the chat saying, they probably have a private chat going, how long can we make you sit like that?